Well, hello, welcome to this video. The title of it is Drummers Don't Listen to Strummers. We'll keep this in the context of Australia for now. But as a drummer, if you're someone that's worked as a drummer or who is in the process of trying to make your way into that business and get gigs, and you're asking yourself those questions of, how can I fit in on the gig, and how do I know what to do and act right, and all of these kinds of things. It's interesting that as drummers, we've always been encouraged, or we've been told that we're expected to learn another instrument, like the piano is the most common, or a guitar, or whatever other, bass, whatever. And it's sold to us in this way that we as drummers need to learn this so that we can then serve the people we're playing for even more, so that we can understand what it's like to be in their shoes and be in front with a drummer behind you, okay? But here's the thing, is I took up guitar a long time ago. I didn't really take it up, it was just around and I'd always play it. And then I've had a few periods where I've gotten into it a bit more and learned some stuff. And eventually got to a point where I can go and gig on the guitar and I can play a few different styles and stuff like that. And what that actually showed me, in a way that was very tangible, like now I really know. It's not just I know, but I can't kind of prove it. Now I know. What it showed me is that actually it's such a luxury. Like, it's really quite easy to stand in front of a rhythm section and play guitar, like playing blues or something and soloing. I love it. I can sit there and just solo over minor blues endlessly for 20 minutes or half an hour, and it's fun. But being in the drum chair for that gig, where you've got the guitarist out front just endlessly soloing and every tune is kind of the same, it's really boring and it's a lot of work. And what you also realise is that those guys, most of the time, if they're a singer, strummer or whatever, they don't know anything about rhythm. So they're so used to, say for example, practicing to backing tracks that just go boom, bat, boom, boom, bat, boom, bat, boom, boom, bat, boom, bat, boom, boom, bat, boom, bat, boom, boom. And then they just play along and sing, and they basically tune it out, and they're not even listening, it's just there. So because they have limited to no understanding of rhythm, like your average strummer, covers band strummer, doesn't know what a clave is. He thinks a clave is like a Spanish cooking utensil. No idea. So anytime you start to inject any additional information, that can be disruptive for them, right? And they'll turn around and look at you like, oh, it's your fault. The drummer's fault. It's always the drummer's fault. And another little side story there, I discovered this aspect of it years ago, because by now I've done a lot of demos for people. I help people write songs and arrange them, and then I'll record them and create demos. And mostly being in Australia, most of what you're doing is like singing, at least what I was doing, you know, singer-songwriters, strummers, rock, folk rock, some sort of branch of rock, you know what I mean? Straight ahead music, 4/4 Western backbeat music. And it was really interesting because even something like creating a percussion track for the purpose of trying to create a bit of movement within the rhythm of the tune and burying that kind of in the mix a bit, like it might be a shaker and a conga or something, just to give it a bit of motion. That would be enough for, and this happened more than once, that would be enough for someone to go and try to do their vocal part and go, oh, this is really, something's putting me off, it's distracting me, you know, what's that sound and what's that thing there, and it's putting me off. So I'd have to go, okay, well, that's all right, and I'd delete those things and just take out that type of information. And then I realised it's like they don't know anything about rhythm, nothing. They've never studied it. They don't know any bell patterns. They don't know what a clave is. They don't know what a bembe is. They've never listened to Latin music. They don't listen to jazz. They've never listened to any kind of world music or African music or rhythmic music or anything. They don't know anything. They know tick, 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 tick. And if you deviate, if you put any additional information to that, that can be enough to throw them off. And of course, they're going to turn around and say it's you. And you're the one that's going to have to own that, you know. Same thing happens with singers and harmony, where you get singers who really don't have a very good understanding of pitch. They've never done ear training, they don't even know what it is. So if you start adding any additional information into the chord extensions, major 7s or 9s and things like that, same thing can happen where suddenly they're like, oh, I can't pitch, you know. So you've got to like do the easy version and then go back afterwards once they've sung their part and add in the colours and colour it all in like that, because otherwise they can't interact with it. So yeah, same as the rhythmic thing. So this kind of relates to that question of sizing up a gig and knowing what to do. If you're that guy who's going to be doing kind of freelance work and you're going to play for all these different people, and you're going to go from a R&B gig and then go and do like a shuffle blues gig and then a country gig and then a singer-songwriter thing and then this and that and this and that. So keep that in mind, right? You don't have to be arrogant about it, but drummers have to start standing up for themselves a bit and having a bit more self-confidence and realising that most of these people who kind of bark the orders don't really know what they're talking about. And they can't really they can't hang with a drummer. Lots and lots of musicians just can't hang with a drummer. So here's what you do. And this is very superficial because it is superficial. You're not supposed to say these things. I'm going to get into why. But let's say it's like a pub rock type gig here in Australia, which means you're going to be playing all of that standard. There's different versions of it. You can get the top 40 bands that play more like a 90s repertoire. You can get the top 40 bands that are playing 2000s and current stuff and Katy Perry and Pink and all that. And then you get like your classic rock guys who are doing AC/DC and all that kind of stuff. And the blues guys doing the blues things. So take for example that it's like a rock gig, covers gig. Now you could do the session guy thing and just show up wearing all black, and when you're playing you're really just sort of getting the job done and you're not making too much of a fuss. And those people that you work for are probably going to be happy enough and go, yeah, it's good, okay, it's good, yeah, no worries, on time, all those things. But here's what you can do to help yourself immediately is you treat it superficially. So if that's the gig and you've looked at the repertoire and it's like Guns N' Roses and the Angels and all that stuff, have you got a Led Zeppelin shirt? Seriously, don't wear your all blacks, put your Led Zeppelin shirt on, because it's as soon as you show up, it's like a tell for them. They think it's a tell, you know, it's sort of subconscious. Oh yeah, so far so good. Same thing when you play. If you play kind of straight-faced and solid, wearing all your blacks, they're going to be like, that was okay. If you turn up with your Led Zeppelin shirt and maybe you haven't had a shave for a few days, and when you play, you sell it and you kind of thrash around a bit and you do the rock and roll bro and you kind of bro it up a bit, your sound has just got improved dramatically like that, according to them. Meaning it's the exact same performance by the exact same person. The only thing that's changed is the t-shirt, the stubble, and the fact that you're kind of like selling it and getting into it a bit. To them, they'll think you're better. They'll think that guy's a better drummer and they'll think he sounds better. Have you got a Ludwig drum kit? Take the Ludwig, even if you're just using a Ludwig bass drum. If it's a rock gig, take the Ludwig bass drum with the Ludwig logo on it, with your Led Zeppelin shirt and your enthusiasm for rock music, right? And they will think your drums sound better, that you're a better player, that you're a better guy, everything, right? And then if you can just manage to sort of be cool and know enough about those bands and stuff. Like I can sit here and talk rock and talk a bit about John Bonham, because I've gotten into all kinds of music, you know. So that's that, yeah. Be careful of these strummers who don't know anything about rhythm, and often other people in the band aren't much better. So once you know that, you realise that, okay, this gig is that, just feed them time. Yeah, feed them solid time. Another great one for a rock gig. Anyway, feed them solid time and set everything up really simply. Braga daga dooga dooga boom, ba boom boom, ba boom, ba boom boom, ba ba boom, ba. Everything's got to be like that because they can't hear much else, right? What was I going to say about the rock gig again? Setting it up, bloody blah. So anyway. Can't remember what I was going to say then. Yeah, anyway. They won't know the difference because most of all of that stuff is purely superficial, right? And here's the thing about like Australia. In Australia, there's a part of the culture that's world famous, and it's known as the tall poppy syndrome. And this is exclusive, kind of, to Australia and New Zealand. Australia's the number one. Other cultures have a version of this, like Japan. They've got a proverb that's something like, the nail that sticks up must be hammered down. The nail that stands tall should be hammered down. The Dutch have one that's something like, the tallest tree cops all the wind, this kind of thing. And this is a unconscious, embedded aspect of the Australian collective psychology, is this tall poppy syndrome. So it's a country that's kind of anti-elitist, almost anti-education, in fact, because it associates education with elitism. The predominant music in this country, and pretty much has been since the 50s, is rock music. Country rock, or country, Australians think jazz is just elitist tosser music, and they don't get it. Same thing again, there's too much information. You've got to kind of know something to properly listen to jazz. So this expresses itself within the music scene. So the best thing you can be in Australia, and this actually applies a lot of the time, if you're in the context of rock music and stuff, right? Pop music, rock music, singer-songwriter music. The best you can be is good enough. You don't want to be not good enough. You don't actually want to be too good. You just want to be good enough. And what those people often like, the strummers, is your job as a fill-in guy or just as the drummer in those types of bands is really to be seen and not heard. Meaning, you just blend into the background so that they can be up there, and just like when they practice to the drum machine, they're not even listening to you. They're really not listening to you. They're relying on everyone else to listen to them. Here's another quick one. Same scenario, if you're in a band, and let's say you're like a fill-in guy or a temp, if the lead singer strummer's time is like not very good, and then say the bass player's like dragging, and then the lead guitar player or the rhythm player's kind of rushing, and no one's really listening to anyone else, probably because they don't actually know what to do, you have to decide what you're going to do. Because if you go and play, okay, I'm going to lock in with the bass player, well, now everything's dragging. Okay, if I lock in with the guitar player, well, now everything's rushing and he's starting to rush even more. And if I try to lock in with the singer who's strumming, well, they're just all over the place. So you end up with this damned if you do, damned if you don't. So what you can do in that situation is just play straight through the middle. They're not listening to you, so just stop listening, stop trying to glue it together, and just play straight through the middle. They're brutal gigs because it's so much hard work. It sucks, but it'll get you to the other end and get the job done. And then when they ask you back, you can go, oh, never answer the phone again. So remember that. Most of those guys doing that stuff don't know anything about rhythm. So as drummers, stop thinking that it's something's wrong with you, right? And you've heard all these sayings like, what are all the dogmas? Keep it simple, stupid, less is more, blah, blah, blah. So that leads me to back to the tall poppy thing. If you're in Australia, part of the whole tall poppy attitude is about cutting people down, right? The tall poppy has to get cut off and everyone has to get cut into this mediocrity. And this kind of expresses itself sometimes in like a subconscious sabotage where careful who you're taking advice from. This would be taking advice from drummers who are like career covers band musicians. And these are the people that usually end up with these dogmas of like less is more, play simple, da da da, not too loud, and da 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 da. And then when they get into later life, or say when they get into their 40s and 50s and everything else, they really grip hold of these dogmas, and that's because they can't just accept the fact that they never put the time into their chops. They just never did that work. Jim Keltner. These types of guys will cite people like Jim Keltner, you know, and Jim Gordon or whatever. The Groove Police guys will cite Jim Keltner and that, you know, that's all you need. Now, if you ask Jim Keltner, and I saw this in an interview, where he said him and Charlie Watts, if Weckl or Vinny or whoever was playing at the Baked Potato, they'd go along and watch. Because Jim Keltner loved Weckl and Vinny, and they loved all that super busy, high energy fusion stuff. And Keltner was, you know, amazed by it all. But he also admits that he never got that stuff together because he was working from such a young age. He was in the studio when I think he was like 15 or something. And then you're working like 6-7 days a week, multiple dates a day, and it's all within the industry of pop music and straight ahead music. So of course, he's too busy to be going and learning, you know, all these flan rudiments and all that crazy stuff. But notice the dogmas aren't there. He's not going up to Dave and going, oh, less is more, let's just keep it simple, stupid, you know. He's like, I love this shit. This is awesome. I can't do it, but they can, and I love it. And the feeling's mutual. Vinny and Weckl and all the guys, they all love Keltner, and they appreciate what they do. So when you get the drummers in this, in the, like the career covers band drummers and stuff, it's the same again. A lot of the time, they don't have any jobs. They just never worked on it. And if you put them in a situation where they really have to use their ears and there's a lot of information going by quickly and they need some chops, they haven't got it. So they use this sort of tall poppy mentality to chop anyone down who does, and so, oh, less is more, and keep it simple, stupid, and just play the. And as we know, as we've just talked about, one of the reasons why you do that to keep the gig is because the people that you're playing for haven't got a clue. It's all superficial. They don't really know anything. They don't practice. The amount of musicians that don't practice is just crazy. They do their 3 gigs a week and then the guitar lives in the boot of the car. So that's how the sort of tall poppy thing ends up coming out, where you're in a community in Australia where it will try and sabotage you and pull you down to that mediocre level. And yet the same people will then go and at the hang and talk about all these drummers who don't play like that at all. Jazz, right? Jazz in Australia. There's kind of like Aussie jazz, and for some reason the whole jazz thing's really contentious about what jazz is and what it is. As far as I'm concerned, jazz happened, and then there were things that came after it that were post. Bebop was called bebop because it was bebop jazz. So they called it bebop to differentiate it. Then you had post-bop. So you just have a continuation of new branches that have come off this tree. I don't see what the problem is with that. But here's another way how this tall poppy thing expresses itself, right? The general style of, say, music generally, but jazz in Australia, is they always play medium tempos, heaps of medium tempos, hardly ever any up tempos, never fast. What was I going to say then? Yeah, that's one. Medium tempos, not too loud. So everything's got to be played quietly all the time. Once again, you don't want to distract the legends. You know, they start hearing too much noise and they get put off. And feed them time. Same thing again. Don't play too busy. Keep it simple, stupid. So you got keep it simple, stupid, and feed them time. Medium tempos, and don't play too loud. Now, all you have to do is this. If you've got Aussie jazz quartets and jazz guys and whatever trying to fucking claim that they know what it's all about, and they're telling you that the horn player's telling the drummer how to play, go get a recording, an actual jazz recording. Like go get a Sonny Rollins CD, or go get a Coltrane CD, or go listen to some Charlie Parker. Put that on and listen to it. And then go listen to the Aussie Jazz Quartet that's trying to teach you all about jazz. And tell me how they sound alike in any way at all. So a completely different language, completely different thing. There's a Charlie Parker Omnibook just over there. If I pick that book up right now and open it at random, probably going to come across a tempo like 240. And if you just keep turning pages and looking through the book, 240, 260, 310, 200, 260, 240. There's a few ballads and a few mediums in there. So being able to play tempos is just part of the style. If you call yourself a jazz musician or a jazz guitarist or whatever, and you think playing at 300's out of your range, then you're not there yet, because playing at tempos is part of the style. So if you can't play the tempos, you can't play the style. The other one, volume, right? They don't like you to play too loud, because it puts them off. And then they want to sit around the hang and talk about Elvin Jones and Tony Williams and whoever, Steve Gadd, and all these names. So, same again. Go look at Tony Williams playing with the Miles Davis Quintet. Go listen to Tony Williams playing with anyone. Go listen to Elvin playing with Coltrane. Go listen to Elvin playing with his own bands. Go listen to Buddy Rich playing with Charlie Parker. Go listen to Max Roach, and show me where all this medium volume bullshit is. All of those drummers can play a wide dynamic range, and if you look at bebop music, it's high energy, it's fucking loud. Drummers don't play like little pussies, they dig in, and yeah, it's busy. Drummers are shredding, they're doing things. Look at the Miles Quintet, where it's all Ron Carter holding that together. Amazing, like, man, that guy is just incredible to be able to hold it together when you got a drummer like Tony Williams who's 17, just ripping and going all over the place and speeding up, slowing down, all this sort of stuff. So there's another dogma, and it's another one that all you have to do is, these people are claiming that they're teaching jazz. Well, jazz is American music. So go and listen to the Americans play it, and then listen to the Aussies play it, and you tell me, right? All that stuff, medium tempos, bullshit, right? Low volume playing all the time, bullshit. Total nonsense. sitting there feeding time, like every jazz gig's got to be kind of blue and we've got to play like Jimmy Cobb and just feed your fucking time. Bullshit. Just go listen to the records. It's that simple. Right there in front of you. And once again, how this relates to the Aussie tall poppy is, of course, Aussies are going to sabotage you. Right? And tell you, oh no, it's too fast, too loud, too busy, too this. Everything that the music is, they're going to try and say it isn't. And it's because they don't get it and they can't do it. And they can't just say, this is beyond me and I'm just not that good. They can't say that, especially in a room full of students. They have to be the fucking guru, don't they, and know everything. So that's pretty much that. Be very careful. And if you're looking at going into music in Australia, we'll just have to think about it. There's a reason why often the best players in Australia go overseas, because they have to. Because the glass ceiling is too low and there's nowhere to go, and you're surrounded by like rock music and covers bands and strummers who don't have a clue. And they're the people that you're going to be working for. And, you know, coming back to that thing before, like, it's amazing to see what a luxury it is to play a guitar and how easy it is actually compared to being in a rhythm section or being a drummer. Just how boring those gigs would get. And the thing that just tips it over the edge is it's Dunning-Kruger again. It's like all the people that don't know anything think they're the best. Have you heard of Dunning-Kruger? It's named after the two scientists that did the experiment. It kind of shows that, like, the people who are sort of the least competent tend to have the most confidence in their ability and they rate themselves very highly. And then when you get to the other end of the scale of the people who are expert, they're in that place of, well, really all I've learned is that I have so much more to learn and I don't really know anything. They're much more humble and all of that. Interesting, huh? So often when you get the lead singer, strummer types, they're not really into music. That's why they only learnt 4 chords and how to clip a capo on. They don't know anything about music and they're not into it. What they're into is being a performer and an entertainer and getting attention. And your job as the drummer there is to facilitate that. It's all about them. I'm a bit all over the place with this, but it doesn't matter. Another little thing regarding the what to play at certain gigs and read the gig psychologically and all of that. It's another one that can happen all the time in, say, the recording world or in bands. If you, let's say you turn up and it's that thing, it's the rock thing, and that guy's wearing Doc Martens and he's got a Les Paul with a low strap, and you can see all the superficial markers and all the symbolism, you know. If anyone in a situation like that says to you as the drummer, oh, just do whatever you want. Oh, we like your playing, so you just do whatever you want. That's cool, right? As soon as you hear that, stop and go, okay, don't do whatever you want. So in the context now of like the rock guys, and there's the docs and there's the shirts and there's the haircuts and everything else, you know straight away that when they say do whatever you want, you go, okay, I'll do that. And then when you play, just play every rock cliche you've ever heard in your life. If you have to take a solo, do the cliche triplets between, you know, do your Dave Grohl solo or your Bonham triplets and just keep it all as cliche rock stuff and they'll love you. Don't do what you want. right? Because again, they don't actually know what they're saying. When they say do what you want, they mean intuitively figure out what we want and do that. So use those superficial markers to be able to tell. Another thing quickly in Australia is it's different to America. So Australia's tall poppy, America's almost the opposite. They don't cut people down, they try to lift people up. Almost in an opposite extreme, where success is a bit over the top there. So in the States you might be able to ask, just go, what do you like? And how do you want me to play? And what do you like? And da, da, da. And they'll probably tell you. And go, oh, just feed me time and just do this or do that, or don't play too loud, or make sure you give me a bit of action, and you know, don't puss around too much. Okay, sweet. But in Australia, it's sort of uncool to ask. And it's like, if you have to ask, then you probably don't know. And it's because they don't know. It's just this, it doesn't really work in Australia, like asking. They'll just think you're a bit lame, and they won't know how to answer you anyway. So I would just say in Australia, I probably wouldn't take that advice of asking. Use superficial markers, right? And just play to people's egos. That's all you're doing. Particularly with the strugglers, they've usually got the biggest egos and they're the worst players. And they don't know anything about rhythm. And as I said before, I can play some real busy stuff, or someone else can play some real busy stuff, and I can sit there on a guitar and it's quite comfortable. And that's because my ears are fast. It's because I can hear that information. It doesn't put me off. I can interact with it quite easily. You do that behind a strummer, he's just going to almost fall over. They have no idea. So if you are that kind of person, you're in Australia and you're looking to make your way through, just be very cautious and be aware that there are these people around, which has always been in music too. They're going to deliberately be talking behind your back and trying to put you down and everything else so they can get the gig for themselves. And sometimes these guys know that the other people don't know, and they really play on that as well. So if you're passionate about music and drumming and everything, and you're looking for that guidance and you're looking to get somewhere with it, be very careful about the advice you take in Australia, especially when you're playing American music or even British music, because there's no such thing as Australian music. Be careful of that, because the tall poppy thing will try to cut you down into mediocrity, you know, and then when an opportunity arises to do something that you really like and you want to play, you might not have any chops there left to do it, or you just, find someone that you like, say from the States, and email them, have a lesson with them, pay your money there. Don't pay your money to an Aussie. I've got to be careful because it's not everyone, and I know some people that work in the unis and stuff, and they're great players and great teachers and have things to teach. But I'd suggest just finding someone that actually plays the music that you want to play. So if you want to get into jazz and you're into bebop and Charlie Parker and all that stuff, probably best to go find someone in America, because that's where that music comes from. And at least in my experience as an Australian, my experience with Americans has always been affirming and positive and uplifting, and the complete opposite almost of Australians who just want to endlessly cut you down and cut you down and cut you down, until your whole music career is just playing, whatever, Johnny Cash, Elvis, reading your Elvis chart, you know. I've got an Elvis gig, I better get my charts out and pretend to read. Ever seen that? Guys who are trying to be Mr. Session Man, and they're on about charts all the time. Charts, reading, gotta read, chart. And then like you see some of the charts that they're reading and it looks like a grade 6 school band chart. You know, like Rock Around the Clock, where you need a chart for Rock Around the Clock, do you? They put it on their Facebooks and thing, you know, just back in the office today with some charts, and you zoom in on the chart. Rock Around the Clock or something, right? Give me a fucking break. And this country is full of that. It's full of just fakery and mediocrity. And it's embedded into the Australian unconscious. And so the culture of Australia is this way, so much so that even mentioning the tall poppy syndrome to your average Australian you're gonna get a defence and you're gonna get cut down for it. Oh, you think you're good, don't you? So yeah. Keep that in mind, keep focused and keep looking to the people that can do it. If you want to, you know, Australia's a very small place and the music scene is very, very small and the glass ceiling is very low. We have a population of about 25 million people, right? The country of Australia, the land mass, is roughly the same as North America. So if you get Australia and superimpose it over North America, it's about the same. It's a different shape, but it's about the same land mass. Well, the population of Texas, one state in the United States, it's about 25 million people. That's the population of our entire country spread out over a landmass the size of North America. So it kind of gives you some perspective. Be careful trying to get ahead with music in this country. If you're happy playing covers gigs, lots of people are, and they really enjoy it and they actually really like that music and they like all those songs and they love playing it. If that's the case, awesome, great way to make a living and help. But as a drummer, I mean, you don't have to practice for those gigs. You could get your covers band repertoire together and just never practice again because you just don't need to play boom, bap, boom, boom, bap. You just don't need to practice. And don't take dirty looks from strummers who have no idea about rhythm. Obviously, as I've just been through what we've been through, try not to get yourself into a situation where they're going to do that. And if you really want to develop music in a positive way, and you really do have a passion to get better, and you've got that thing where you want to get better, you look up to the heroes in America and stuff, be careful. And probably go and seek advice from the source. And forget about the Aussies who've taken, say, jazz and just like invented their own thing and they call it jazz. It's not. They just invented their own stuff. Leave a comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. You can be brutal, like I always say. Have an opinion, I don't mind. I'm not going to attack you for being negative. Have an opinion, leave your thoughts, add to it if you think I've missed out anything, and enjoy. It's a dog.